Good morning. Basahin tayo na ating libro, History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 06 December 2022. History of the Filipino People Part 2. The Spanish Period. Karugtong pa rin to guys sa topic number 7, Resistance Against Spanish Rule. Filipino Nationalism, Contributory Factors. Paragraph, letter E na tayo. Letter E, Secularization Controversy. Basa. The intensification of the secularization question and its transformation into a Filipinization controversy involving Spanish regular and secular priests on one hand and the Filipino secular priests on the other contributed to the development of nationalism. The conflict between the Spanish clerics trying to protect their position as the people's religious caretakers and the Filipino priests agitating for an equitable representation in parish administration provided the Filipinos ample proof that the Filipinos were denied social and political equality not because of their alleged congenital inferiority or lack of training but because they were natives. The conversion of thousands of natives to Christianity in the early decades of Spanish rule required, in accordance with the mandatory provision of the Council of Trent 1545-1563, that secular priests be appointed to administer the new parishes. Owing to the scarcity of secular priests, however, Pope Pius V issued in 1567, upon the request of King Philip II, Ulit guys. Owing to the scarcity of secular priests, however, Pope Pius V issued in 1567, upon the request of King Philip II, the Exponi Nobis, an apostolic brief that allowed regular to serve as parish priest without diocesan authorization and exempted them from the bishop's authority and jurisdiction. As therefore they remained under the exclusive jurisdiction of the heads of superiors of their respective religious orders, the appointment of regular priests to Philippine parishes brought them into conflict with the archbishop and bishops. The latter maintained that they were responsible for the proper administration of parishes and as such they should be given commensurate power and authority over the friar, curate of cura, parroco, as the regular serving as parish priest was popular known. Friar, curate, or cura, parroco. Was popular known. Okay. The prior curates, however, invoked the papal brief as exempting them from diocesan visitation and argued that as members of a religious order, they were subject only to the rules and regulations and the superiors of the respective religious communities. They resisted visitation on the ground that it would place them under two superiors and that it would erode the religious discipline and monastic orientation of their order. The archbishops and bishops, realizing that there were not enough secular priests to replace the regulars in the parishes and aware that the government would not want the campaign for Christianization of to slacken, could not really enforce their power of visitation upon the parish curates. Moreover, the prior curates threatened to resign and abandon the parishes if the prelates insisted on conducting visitation in their respective jurisdictions. In the 18th century, however, Archbishop Basilio Santa Justa, determined to assert diocesan supremacy over the prior curates, accepted the resignation of the regular priest and appointed secular priests to the vacated parishes. The dearth of seculars impelled Santa Justa to ordain Filipino secular seminarians and appoint them parish priests. A royal decree promulgated on November 9, 1774, ordering the secularization of the parishes or the turnover of parishes administered by prior seculates. by prior curates to the seculars. Pinaghalo eh. Okay, ulit-ulit ha. Ordering the secularization of parishes or the turnover of parishes administered by prior curates to the seculars. Sanctioned Santa Hostas campaign. The expulsion of the Jesuits from the Philippines in 1768 created an even more auspicious atmosphere for secularization. Unfortunately, the fast passage of secularization involved the appointment of ill-trained and incompetent Filipino seculars who embraced the ways of their Spanish predecessors with alacrity. The unpreparedness of the native secular clergy and the organized opposition of the priors to secularization prompted the passage of another royal decree in 1776 which virtually suspended the secularization of parishes. The decree restored the parishes to the prior curates but required visitation which could be made either the bishop or by the superior of the religious order to which the prior curates belong. The decree moreover enjoined the church authorities to prepare for eventual secularization by training a competent ano ba yan? Ba't mali-mali ang basa ko? Ulit guys. The decree moreover enjoined the church authorities to prepare for eventual secularization by training a competent native clergy in the Philippines. The Spaniards continued to make the parishes the exclusive reserve of the regulars, and in the 19th century, in complete disregard of the injunction of the decree of 1776, adopted a policy of despoliation of the secularization. The influx of many religious priests into the colony, encouraged by the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869. Popular itong Suez Canal. Napanood ko rin to sa pinanood ko dyan sa YouTube. Lagi yan nababanggit. Encouraged by the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869 and the growing liberalization of revolutionary sentiments that had destroyed their power in Spain, was made to justify such a policy. Parishes had to be given these priors and the authorities to be able to do so not only refused to appoint Filipino secular priests to vacant parishes but also dispossessed the native clerics of parishes they already occupied. A decree enacted in 1826 deprived many secular priests of parishes which they had held for nearly 50 years. Another decree in 1849 gave 7 curacies in Cavite, which were administered by the secular clergy to the priors. The return of the Jesuits in 1859 was also made to justify the policy of despoliation at the expense of well-qualified Filipino secular priests. The authorities ordered that the parishes in Mindanao which the Jesuits held before their expulsion be returned to them. The Recollects, however, had administered these parishes in the Jesuits' absence and greeted the government order with vehement opposition. Accordingly, the government enacted a decree in 1861 which allocated the rich and premier Archdiocese of Manila, which most parishes were controlled by the Filipino secular clergy, to the Recollects to compensate them for the loss of their parishes in Mindanao. The priors engaged the Filipino priests in a bitter fight over two of the richest beneficiaries in the country, the Shrine of Antipolo and the Curacy of San Rafael, Bulacan, which had long been administered by native secular priests. The Curacy of Antipolo, regarded as the pearl of the Philippines curacies, was a very rich parish. The collection of May alone, when thousands of pilgrims visited the shrine, provided the parish more than enough income to support it for the rest of the year. When parish priest of Antipolo died in 1862, Father Pedro Pelaez as ecclesiastical governor of the Archdiocese of Manila. Appointed Francisco Campmas, a Filipino secular priest, to succeed him. The Recollects protested the appointment on the ground that they had a right to the parish which was in the Archbishopric of Manila. By virtue of the decree of 1861, in the dispute, the Filipino secular clergy lost, and the Recollects gained a very important curacy. In 1869, the parish of San Rafael, Bulacan also became vacant. The government cancelled the competitive examination for which 17 Filipino priests had qualified because the Recollects, invoking the 1861 decree, claimed that the parish should be given to them. The native clergy protested in vain. They lost in similar disputes with the regulars, the rich parishes in Bataan, Zambales, and Pampanga. Thus, the policy of despoliation brought the Filipino secular clergy in direct confrontation with the Spanish friars. Father Pilaes wrote a memorial to the Queen of Spain protesting the decree of 1861 as illegal because it violated the provisions of the Council of Trent and was extremely prejudicial to the interest of the native clergy. He launched a spirited campaign for the secularization of the Philippine parishes and edited with several others El Eco Filipino, a newspaper which worked for justice and equal representation for Filipino priests. The Archbishop of Manila, Gregorio Meliton Martinez, and the prelates of Cebu and Nueva Cáceres, on the other hand, supported the beleaguered native clergy. Archbishop Martinez, in particular, sent a memorial to the Queen Regent in December 1871, in which he advocated the repeal of the decree of 1861 and the establishment of a definite program of training seminarians for Philippine parishes. He called attention to the commendable qualities of the native secular clergy and cited their faithful and efficient service to the church. In the same memorial, In the same memorial, he issued a stern warning that if the demands of the native clergy would win, and he, the resentment and hostility against the friars might develop in the natives a contagious feeling of hatred for all Spaniards in the Philippines. Secularization had been going on since the time of Anda, encouraging many Filipinos to join the priesthood in increasing numbers. Many native priests had proved their capabilities by passing rigid competitive examination for parishes, and at the turn of the 19th century, many qualified Filipino priests were running parishes in Pampanga, the Tagalog provinces, and the Archdiocese of Manila. Father Pedro Pilaes, a Spanish mestizo, became Vicario Capitular of the Manila Cathedral and for 3 years was virtually Archbishop of Manila, wielding ecclesiastical prerogatives until the arrival of Archbishop Meliton Martinez. The despotic decrees of the 19th century, however, eroded whatever headway the native secular clergy might have achieved. By 1898, the friars occupied 817 parishes out of 967 in the entire colony. Indeed, the manner by which the regulars usurped the parishes due to the native clergy caused so much resentment and indignation among the Filipino secular priests. Late in the 19th century, the religious question ceased to be one of secularization and became one of Philippinization. The controversy assumed a distinctly racial overtone, and many Filipinos, doubtless parishioners of the dispossessed and discriminated clerics, also saw and resented the racial prejudice and snobbery of the Spaniards in the struggle to secularize the parishes. Therefore, the native clergy heighten racial consciousness and help bring about the emergence of nationalism. Bye everyone. God bless.